Protesters in Hong Kong are not backing down this weekend, and they've turned out in their thousands, defying a ban on demonstrations to keep up their calls for justice. Today, they endured perhaps their biggest clash with authorities yet. Riot police are using tear gas and water cannons to disperse the crowds. We want to show you just a little bit of what it looks like from the ground. The CBC's Adrienne Arsenault, co-host of The National, has the latest from the streets of Hong Kong.
So this is a rare and slightly odd pause in the night. The riot police here in Causeway Bay, some of them, if you can see this officer's weapon here that says less lethal, are waiting. They frankly have no idea where the protesters are going to turn up next, what sort of trouble might follow. Remember, this day started with people believing that the main peaceful protest planned for today had been canceled. Police and the authorities seemed certain that that would encourage people to stay away. The opposite seems to have happened. The streets were full for most of the day, and the protesters move in a really organic way. They show up in one neighborhood close to the Legislative Council. Nothing happened for a while. It suddenly got very aggressive. Tear gas, water cannons, police using something we haven't seen before, which is blue dye being sprayed at people. It sort of marks people who were the protesters. And then as night fell, they sort of moved into different neighborhoods, each one having a purpose. They went towards the police headquarters at one point. They went towards the Beijing liaison office. They seemed to set a vehicle on fire, and then the riot police came at them very hard. We saw a number of injuries, one in particular that looks pretty serious. And now it is the strange holding pattern as it gets later and later into the night, where the riot police know they have to just keep chasing these protesters. The protesters have the advantage of being leaderless. They always say that they're like water. They're very tech savvy. Some of them are telling us that they've been using Pokemon Go and as a way to sort of mark where the police are and where the water cannons are, and that's how they're communicating with each other. Where this goes, this is the question nobody seems to understand how to answer, because when you talk to these young protesters, some of whom say they have filled out their wills before coming onto these streets, they just feel like the Hong Kong government completely misreads the situation and seems to think it can just shut them up by telling them not to come to the streets, and it's only making them angrier. They know there are a lot more resources that the Hong Kong government has. They can block social media, they can ban people from wearing masks, even gas masks in the street. It doesn't seem to deter the protesters at all. Certainly seems to make the riot police nervous. Here we go again, they're on the move once more.
That's the CBC's Adrienne Arsenault, co-host of The National in Hong Kong.
We're following Kent. On weekdays, he works a summer job at a convenience store. On weekends, he protests. Can you tell me why you had to order these from Amazon?
It's safe. It can lower the risk of being monitored by the police. So
let's see what you got.
So this one here is a mask. This is the best protection we get.
How much does this cost?
Over 500 Hong Kong dollars a week salary, just for one staff.
Just for one.
Okay, this one, these glasses here, to protect my eye from the police rubber bullet. The reason why I don't want my dad to know I will be on the front line every single weekend is that I don't want to have a fight or argue with him. I know I cannot persuade him. Just like what he's doing now to my younger brother.
What is he doing?
Hitting him.
He's hitting him because your younger brother is also participating?
Yeah, I would never let my dad know.
Where does he think you go?
Working.
It's been a summer of chaos. People here are enraged about China's growing influence. They have paralyzed the city, staging strikes, barricading streets, and occupying the international airport. The government has dug in its heels. The police have cracked down with impunity. And in response, protesters have embraced hardcore tactics. Leading the charge are young men and women, many of them students on summer break.
We all are under 18.
You all are under 18?
Yes, students. In secondary school.
Do your parents know that you're out here?
They don't know.
They don't know.
Some tell us they would die for this movement. But now the summer is coming to an end. So we came to hear from the voices behind the masks. Can they sustain the fight? And how far will they go in the face of unyielding resistance? We meet up with a young team of medics. Everybody just knows which places will...
Yes, but we need to keep it as a secret.
They're gathering at a hotel. It's part of an underground network of safe houses that open their doors to people supporting the movement.
行到出去條街咧，就唔好覺得冇狗、冇警察，好安全。
隨時下一個死嘅係我哋。我講得好難聽嘅説話，會死㗎，會坐監㗎。每一個人都要孭翻自己嘅責任。
Most protesters don't organize overtly. They worry they'll be arrested. But the medics take the extra risk.
Do you know what is GTA? No. We love GTA so much.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and now in Hong Kong, the play have real GTA. Real GTA. But only have once lifetime.
Those weapons and those conflicts are so far from our usual life. So it's just like a video game. You have a virtual identity, and you go on the street, do something you should do, and then after that, you go to home and hide all the equipment, and then go back to work again.
The idea that this is somehow a game, and that they can opt in and out, begs the question, are they prepared to face the real-life consequences of standing up to China?
This might be fun today.
Fun? Why do you say it's going to be fun?
For us, this is every time is a new challenge, and challenge is fun for us. The police will whether use any new weapons that we never see before. Last time the police said that they will have a water cannon, and we are so looking for that.
We catch up with Ken as he makes his way to a protest.
There's another police car over there. Because the police will disguise themselves as a normal person. They may be sitting inside a car. They're watching us. So I will change my clothes and block my face. That's the police station. People watching us on the rooftop.
This building houses a pro-Beijing party.
I'm facing the risk of getting arrested or getting shot. But some violence are necessary in a protest. We need to do something that will force governments to directly face us.
Frontline protesters like Ken see some violence as the only way to force change. That attitude could undermine popular support for the movement. But as we cycle through neighborhoods, we see residents on the sidelines urging them on, with water, food, and riot gear. And weeks after protests began, hundreds of thousands are still coming out.
You can see that it's raining.
Yes.
A lot of people also they are together here. So I think it is a very happy to see a lot of people here.
What about when everybody goes back to school?
The protest will still goes on. In Hong Kong, we are now fight for our freedom, and I think it is a last chance for us to fight for our freedom. This is the government headquarters.
That's the government headquarters.
Yeah.
As the day winds down, protesters stand outside police and government headquarters, contemplating their next move.
Summer has been fun.
因為喺其他國家，就佢哋其他啲小朋友嘅夏天嘅暑假咧，就其實係可能係踢下波啊、玩下籃球咁樣，但係之後同埋就係到咗我哋開咗學之後咧，我哋亦都有抗議，可能通過啲罷課啊，或者係一啲校內嘅集會咁樣咯。
The standoff in Hong Kong continues. But this summer's fervor will be put to the test when many of these protesters head back to school. People on the streets disperse peacefully. And Kent leaves with them, a little deflated.
They just decide to go home. I brought all my gear out. Am I supposed to beat down all the police by myself?
Go for it, go!
Police in Hong Kong are now drawing guns on protesters. And on Sunday, for the first time since the movement started, an officer fired a live round. The police department defended him, saying his life was in, quote, grave danger.
Police are finding it increasingly difficult to control the situation. Protesters started attacking the police vehicles. The police got out, pointed guns towards the protesters, and now the police have had to flee away from the protesters up these stairs. You can see them gathering their breath and I'm assuming calling for backup.
Three months of protests have changed the way that Hong Kongers live. This group of 6 self-proclaimed radicals moved out of their parents' homes and into a 2-bedroom apartment. So how long have you been living here for?
In this flat, it's just like 1 month.
So during the protests?
Yes.
And why is it that you live here?
Because we would discuss things about protests, and also we got some defensive weapons. If we put it at home, it not be safe, and also it's for our safety actually.
Why is it that everything's shut up?
The police will come up and do search, then we will all be arrested because of those so-called weapons.
So you're worried about neighbours reporting you to the police, and then the police coming here and arresting you for having weapons that you say are defensive?
Yes.
That's why they wanted us to keep this location and their identities secret. The roommates balance full-time protests with part-time jobs and shift work. Can you show me around a little bit?
Actually, you can see people here.
There's people everywhere.
Yeah, we got 6 person living here.
Wow.
And
you must all sleep on top of each other.
And then we also got a dog. Yeah.
Rick's parents don't know where he's staying, and they worry about him. Have you had any injuries?
The 12th of June, yes, when I get hit by the police on the leg.
Meanwhile, he's pulled together a war chest to defend himself. Oh my God, this is so much equipment. So show me what you're packing up in here.
So basically, I have a motorbike armor in here in case of the religious mafia trying to shop people. At least it can block some shop items. And then I have 2 masks and then fireproof gloves in case the police is going to use tear gas.
So this is the live feed of what's going on with the protests?
Yeah.
What's the situation today?
I think it's quite tense today, but we'll see later.
Mm-hmm.
For now, we're all getting ready to go out.
Okay.
Not everyone will accept what we did, but for us, if we don't use radical ways to fight against the government will still see us as nothing. If we lose this time, we totally lost.
like we lost our freedom, and maybe Hong Kong will like totally establish back to China. Like, so why this time so many youngsters and also teenagers coming out and fight for their future is because it's our golden time.
Police arrested 86 people this weekend, including a friend in Jen and Rick's group, who were discovered with weapons. Hong Kong's chief executive, Carrie Lam, said today that law enforcement will, quote, stamp out the violence. But some people who work for the police feel that both sides are partly responsible.
我覺得係即係有一啲嘅片段睇到咧，我覺得警察佢哋都係有過分使用武力嘅。因為我覺得即係對於我嚟講，我都有諗過啊，會唔會係呢個時候要 resign 咧？
We spoke to one community police officer who didn't want to share her identity because, just like the protesters, she's worried about being targeted.
我都有聽過一啲係佢即係一啲警察嘅屋企人係俾人哋騷擾啦，甚至乎俾人哋係攻擊咁樣咯。咁所以咁其實當時嘅氣氛係好容易牽動到人哋嘅情緒，好激動，而即係有生命危險威脅到佢哋嘅時候，咁警察作出用武力去制止佢哋，咁我都覺得係好合理。就
Is that fair though to blame the level of violence and what's happening here on the emotions of the protesters? Is part of that emotion not coming from the excessive force that's being used by the police at the moment?
我諗兩樣都有。而家因為佢哋好不滿警察嘅即係執法嘅方式啦。
It strikes me that maybe the Hong Kong police force don't really know how to deal with the situation that they have in their hands, and that often they might panic.
即係雙方面啦，無論係示威者定係警察，都係第一次處理呢啲咁嘅情況，所以係即係一個處於一個 panic 嘅狀態。只不過我最擔心嘅就係會唔會真係要去到有即係有更多嘅人命傷亡先會有一個轉機咧。
She fears that some of the protesters want a martyr.
There's been a lot of violence this weekend towards the police. What do you make of that?
I would say they deserve what they get.
Do you not think that this level of violence is kind of undermining the whole protest movement and could kind of...
I don't think so.
How is this all going to end?
The changing point will be when people die because of the protest. Like either the protester or the police.
Are you willing to die for this?
I would say instead of arresting me, I would say better kill me.